Like, wisdom isn't the same thing as knowledge in the sense of, I know this or that. It's not the possession of a theory. It's having perspectival knowing that is capable of self-transcendence, capable of that radical self-correction, that enhances our insight, enhances our intelligence. We get better at zeroing in on what really matters and acting really appropriately towards it. That's the key of wisdom. But of course, and this is the way reality is organized, right? Because altered states of consciousness have such promise, they bring with them tremendous peril. Because as I've argued, the very processes that make you so adaptive are the very same ones that make you subjected to self-deception. It's the relevant realization machinery that makes you so intelligent that also box you in the 9-dot problem. And altered states of consciousness bring a greater risk with them because of that. I mean, in altered states of consciousness, at times you're uncoupling that salience landscape from the rational pursuit of the truth. And I'll come back to what I mean by that in a couple of minutes. But what I want to zero in on is a very important phenomena that has been discussed. Now, famously so by Harry Frankfurt. I'm sorry, I have to use this word. The essay was entitled On Bullshit. And I think this is one of the most important philosophical works in the last 20 years. Okay? It's again, by the way, a little book. Okay? So, Frankfurt is really interested in figuring out what bullshit is because we seem to be accruing more and more of it. And what he does is he distinguishes between bullshitting and lying. Now, I think bullshitting and lying are on a continuum, and he presents them as a little bit more dichotomous than they are. But talking about the poles is a good way of understanding a continuum. So I won't get into a critique of him there. I'll just follow up. And what Frankfurt argues is that the bullshit artist, it's an interesting term, eh? Bullshit artist. Why isn't a bullshit carpenter? Anyways, okay? So, right, is different from the liar. Because the liar is trying to manipulate your behavior by relying on your commitment to the truth. That the fact that the truth can change your behavior. The liar tries to get you to believe something is true, and that is how your behavior will change, because one of the things that changes your behavior is your belief that something is true. Truth is a cognitive norm for people. In contrast, the bullshit artist doesn't do that. The bullshit artist relies on something else that's cognitively important for your behavior, something I've been mentioning throughout this talk. How salient you find information to be, which is different from how true it is. Right? What the bullshit artist does is uncouple the salience machinery from the truth commitment machinery. So my favorite example of this, and I've used it before, is from an episode of The Simpsons. Back when I watched it, does anybody still, I mean, it's on TV, but nobody claims to watch it anymore. It's a very mysterious cultural phenomenon. But back, there's and this has become somewhat famous as an example of bullshit, there's an alien giving a speech, Kang, and he's running for political office in the United States. And right, and he gives the following speech. He says, "My fellow Americans, when I was young, I dreamt of being a baseball, but now we must move forward, not backwards, upwards, not forward, twirling, twirling towards freedom." And like you get this sort of rush, you go, and all this salient stuff, and you get this like it's a cascade, right? It's like it's a pseudo insight cascade. You get one moment of salience priming the next, and you, and nothing has been said. Right? Nothing has been said. We have the tremendous capacity to do that because, like, salience is directly affected by your attention, and you have control over your attention. You can alter salience by how you direct attention. You don't have the same direct control over your beliefs. You don't. Pick a belief you'd like to have, that everybody loves you. Believe it. Do it now. You can imagine it, but belief doesn't work that way. But because salience is wrapped up with attention, and what you can do is you can direct your attention and change your salience, which then calls your attention more that way, which directs you, and that can become a self-reinforcing process. Now, why is this so important? Why am I going on about this? Because I think, and this isn't something Frankfurt said, this is something I think was implied, but he didn't pick up on, right? Self-deception. We try to understand, we use metaphors of lying to yourself to explain self-deception. He's lying to himself. She's lying. You can't lie to yourself. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm going to tell John something he doesn't believe. And that's because belief is not a direct action. But you can bullshit yourself. At the heart, what I'm arguing is what's at the heart of self-deception is your capacity for bullshitting yourself. The way in which attention and salience are in that self-organizing process, the very thing that makes them so adaptive, makes you susceptible to that salience rush that we find in bullshitting. That self-fulfilling prophecy that can take on a life of its own and suck life from you. Damage your cognitive agency. Undermine it in powerful ways. In bullshitting, we're not tapping into our commitment to the truth. We're acquiescing in a salience rush. That means altered states of consciousness are particularly dangerous because of their supersalience, because of the salience rush found within them. And this sounds like a contradiction, but I tried to make an argument all the way through. The very features that make altered states of consciousness, the affordance of wisdom, make them also potentially the engine of folly, self-destructive, self-deceptive patterns of behavior. They're two sides of the same coin.